was actually before we went live, I was telling Arturo about something, and we've kind of talked about this, and it's kind of touchy because you don't want to accuse people, and it's not the same thing as like straight up plagiarism, but they're just a lot of coincidences. And I think maybe last week I was talking about something that we've been talking about for since last year. And now
Yeah.
suddenly you're starting to see, in the news that they're picking up on it. And it feels like sometimes maybe they've got their um their cadets, their little
Yeah.
staffers, like just sort of scrolling Substack looking for, what's something we should be talking about. So last Friday I did a just a an impromptu um, live, and I started it off. If and some of you may have been on it, and I was just really just kind of I don't know, like a lot of people, really just sort of mind blown about seeing a person just straight up gunned down in the street, and I guess it bothered me a little bit, not more, but just hit me in a different way because with Nicole Good, you really couldn't you know what happened, but you didn't actually see it, you know, like
Right.
the graphic nature of it, right? Anyway, I was just that kinda led me to think about I was just thinking about, like, the whole situation in Minneapolis reminded me of what happened, 15 years ago, I guess now, um, in the Middle East with the Arab Spring and specifically, what we think of as the color revolutions, right? You know,
Yeah.
so, um, actually in Ukraine, I mean, they ran the president out of town. He got on a plane and went
Right.
to Moscow because they knew that the election, it just wasn't, it's someone right.
Right.
Pardon me. And so, people rose up and the authorities just weren't ready for it. And so
Right.
I mentioned it, and lo and behold, I look today, and here's Paul Krugman. Minnesota's the beginning of an American color revolution. Now, for you, I'm a fan of Paul Krugman. That's why I saw it because I read his newsletter, but it was it was so on the nose for something that I had been talking about that I thought I had kind of I was on to something, and it's almost like I literally we were a little bit late because I pulled up the quote, the transcript because I haven't even published this yet. So somebody
Oh,
may have seen it, just live. But um, I'm not going to say I'm smart as Paul Krugman, and I'm not going to say he heard I doubt he's on my live streams.
right.
Let me just check, just to be, let me
Yeah, right.
just to be sure.
Right, right.
But the way I'm going to take it is that with our limited resources, we're certainly on the money, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and a lot of times I feel like we're really, we're nimble, man. We're out front. Um,
right.
trying to remember. Oh, just yesterday, and I haven't even had a chance to post anything about this. So, folks, you guys are going to hear it first. A guy that a former colleague used to be on the trading desk that I ran. um, he sent me a text. I guess I'm actually looking to see when. I guess it was yesterday afternoon, and it's from the Washington Post, and it's talking about how millions in bets ride on what Trump will say, do, or invade next. It's talking about the prediction markets and how people are
Jesus.
concerned there might be some insider trading going on.
Oh, right, right.
I think I think I've been talking about this eventuality
Yeah.
since I think the first thing I actually wrote about it was like last November. No, no,
Yeah.
November a year ago because it
Right,
was
over a
right
year
after
ago.
the election. And so now the Washington Post
I
is
remember
catching
that.
up with us, huh?
Yeah,
So,
I guess, yeah.
hey, the money's not great, but I'm proud. I'm
Yeah.
proud,
You
man. No, they're
you know,
literally
that's
saying some of the same things that we've been telling people, you know?
yeah,
And I mean, I don't know about you, but the journeyman is basically me, a laptop, and a phone.
yeah.
I
I
have no
mean, that's me,
newsroom,
right?
doing a
Yeah, that's me.
whole lot of scrolling. So
Yeah.
anyway, I guess that's maybe, if you wanna
Well, I
think
mean,
about
it does highlight how, like, we're on the right track and stuff like that.
yeah,
You know, I I see it a lot, and, sometimes you can tell when somebody, like, stole something from you or just kinda, like, reworded it and threw it in their article
yeah.
or and
It
it's times
happens
like
a
that
lot
when
more
I
than we wanna really
yeah. I point
acknowledge.
that out when I see it. I point that out when I see it because 'cause I've had that issue with, like, some MSNBC people and stuff like that,
Mhm.
but aside from that, like, when it happens, like, in any other case, it's like, yeah, we were on the money. Like, I said this 6 months ago, and not to be, a shameless self-promoter, but whenever
Don't
that
go ahead and
happens no, but whenever that
shamelessly
happens
self-promote.
right, whenever that happens, I'm like, "Dude, yeah, this is crazy. I was talking about this months ago. Check it out. Read my article here." And I whenever something like that happens, I just go back and start re-promoting my stuff.
Yeah, I
So, like,
mean,
a lot of this
that's the best approach, I think, and it's like,
yeah,
someone in the chat said it's validation if nothing else, right?
right,
Uh,
yeah,
I mean, because when I started talking about what made me, sort of key in on it was right before the election, and I've talked about this before where, um there was an op-ed that Nate Silver did that was talking about he had the gut feeling that Trump was gonna win, and a lot of people don't know this, people know him for 538, which was,
right,
where he was predicting, polling. It was a polling, organization that he had put together, and that's kinda what brought him into the forefront, as far as being a pundit, election pundit or whatever you wanna call it. But he actually, um, is a, pretty well-known poker player, and
okay,
so, I kinda knew that, and it was interesting to me in the article, he didn't really talk about his sort of, gambling connection. He's like, "Yeah, I just got this gut feeling Trump's gonna win," and what he also didn't talk about was the fact that he is on and I think he still is, on the advisory board of Polymarket. And I was even in, like, at the end where they do the little summary of what a person's background is, they mention but
yeah,
they don't mention any of that, and I thought that was really weird. I've never gotten an answer, it's not like I just reached out to him and said, "Hey, dude, what's going on?" But I just, I clocked it and I was like, "Huh, that's interesting. This guy is talking about Trump gonna win, and he's also an advisor for this platform that's basically about it's gambling as far as I can tell, but,
yeah,
whatever. Um, and Polymarket at that time, their biggest investor was a venture capital fund owned by Peter Thiel, okay?
not
So, I'm
surprising.
just I just don't believe in coincidence at all, right?
Right,
So, I'm like, "Okay, what is going on here?" So anyway, ever since then, and folks that subscribe already know a lot of this, but I just thought it was interesting to be echoed by somebody on the level of Paul Krugman. So I would
yeah,
take that as like you said, I'm on the right track.
right, right. Yeah, and, I mean, that like you said earlier, we're more nimble, so we can pick up on things a little bit faster than, say, a clogged newsroom. And, there's advantages to being in a newsroom. Obviously, you have resources out the
Sure.
wazoo. You got people who can do things, but we can adapt a little bit faster, react to things faster. We see things breaking out on the internet before the media does. So, like, a lot of times, like I was talking about. the ICE agents trying to get into the Ecuadorian consulate,
That's
like 2
crazy.
days b right, 2 days before the AP did, you know what I mean?
Oh, really?
So, yeah, and, they have the same video I have, and I didn't write an article or anything like that. I s discussed it on social media because, I don't know, for us, I guess, for us, a lot of times it's more important to have that discussion, openly
Sure.
as opposed to writing an article and things like that. Because issues like this, I don't know, for I guess the way we do things, it's not just all business all the time, right? Like for us,
Mhm.
we're trying to make a difference. We're trying to drive conversations. We're trying to get people involved in things. And so for me to like put the video out right away and talk about it on social media, I thought was more important than trying to write an article about it.
Mm.
Um,
Well, that's what
the
I
AP,
use. I use notes
yeah,
as kind of a like a rapid response. I mean, because there are a lot of things,
right,
videos that I see, and it just is a lot more, expedient
yeah,
to just write, maybe, I don't know, 50 or 100 words, some bullets or whatever, and put some context on it and just get it out there because my typing skills are I'm not that fast.
yeah,
And I just don't want the headache of and some people are good at this. Some people, will, pump out an article a day, 1,500
yeah,
words. I'm just not really trying to go to
yeah,
go at it that hard. I'd rather put it out there, and one good thing about, notes is that it's not where you only got, so many characters, like
right,
on TikTok or not TikTok, but X rather, or some of the
yeah,
other platforms. So that's why it's kind of been my go-to. But anyway, I mean, there's a lot going on in the world since
yeah.
the last time we talked. I'm just seeing. I had heard about someone else getting killed, and I guess I missed it. I think in hang on just a second. Someone saying that ICE killed somebody in Compton, California, or is that old news? I don't know.
I don't know.
It doesn't surprise I hadn't heard that, but, if it's news, it's new to me.
Yeah, I haven't heard that either. I know there was some confrontations, in Compton, and there's video of, a gang member or 2 getting in their face and ICE's face, and they backed down and got
Oh,
in their
I
car and
I have seen yeah, I have seen that.
yeah,
Or a guy that if I had to guess, I would say well, I'm not gonna put anybody in a gang. I'm just gonna say he was one of those guys that probably doesn't look over his shoulder when he's walking through the
yeah.
neighborhood. He's just
I
kinda,
mean,
you know
one video I saw, the guy said he was a gangbanger, like,
Oh, wow.
yeah, he's like, "We're the same thing, basically," and I'm like, "What the fuck, dude?" That he got their face and they got in their car and they drove away. And he stood
Mhm.
there yelling at 'em, getting in their face, like, in the front of their cars and shit. I'm like, "Dude, nah, you ballsy, bro." But yeah, they didn't do anything. They didn't
Well
do anything.
that's a different level, and see,
Yeah,
they don't wanna wade into that. So,
yeah,
I think as important as, you know, my conversations on Polymarket are to me, I think the most important thing that we could be talking about right now is what went down in Fulton County, Georgia, where
man.
these guys, the FBI, I guess, from what I could tell, just rolled up in there and took a
Yeah,
bunch of ballots.
yeah.
My
They
first
seized
question is, who is the judge
uh-huh.
that gave them that warrant? And I think it
Same
was a
thing.
judge that might not have even been in Georgia.
Might not. Yeah, might
But
not have
yeah,
been.
I mean, now, I believe it was Andrew Weissman was on yesterday talking about this, and he said that, the bar for probable cause is so low
Yeah,
that, it didn't have to be like like an inside job kinda thing where, it depends on what it is that they told this judge they were looking for that was
right.
evidence of a crime. But we're talking about ballots 2 elections ago.
Right.
So so what is the criminality that this judge saw potential that I would just like to know about that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
I mean, one of the
I mean, they had
one.
warrants,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. They
what's
had to.
the
They had
alleged
warrants, and
crime they hope to
that's what I don't
uh,
know. I don't get it. I mean, optics wise, we see what we see, right? We see authoritarianism. You know, you see. I can't remember who it was in the state legislature earlier today. We're saying that we can no longer something about the validate the authenticity of their stuff. Like we're no longer responsible. It's out of our hands. So whatever happens to that data now, it's like we can't
well, yeah,
verify
it's
whether it's
it's
good or
it's
not.
basically, it's contaminated
Right.
because it's left the control of the election
Right.
board. So we don't know
Yeah,
what
this is I mean,
if a judge comes
it's
out now and says, "Give it back," who who's to say half the shit isn't in
right,
Trump's bathroom?
right.
You know?
Or or somebody made copies of it. Like, it's like all our data that Doge got a hold of, same thing. Like we're never gonna know what happened to that and what they're using it for. So yeah, I mean, one of the things that stood out to me too was how all these FBI agents came in there like Fallujah again. Once
Again,
again,
yeah,
machine guns. Like, dude, it's a
election
voting
board. What
right. Like
what are they expecting?
you lucky if they have an armed guard in there. Like what
And
do
he
you gotta
might
come
not
in
have
there
a
with
gun. It
yeah,
might be
right.
like at Walmart, or something. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, right.
the
It's just
whole
ridiculous. Like, it was the way they carried it out was to send a message, obviously, but again, that's another thing that played into making it feel like authoritarianism. Obviously, stealing all that stuff or taking all that stuff is authoritarian, and then showing up with military gear just makes it look that much worse. Like, how can you complain about any other country, doing this, doing anything like that? And here we are. Like, it blows me away just to see I don't know, just the outright disdain for everything, the
laws.
Constitution, like yeah, everything, like democracy, the Constitution, all of it. They're just shitting on everything. They really are.
It's really interesting to me, and someone pointed this out. I mean, in terms of, um, I think they've had like 3 recounts of the 2020 election. I think
Yeah, in Georgia.
they
Yeah,
had the recount and then maybe a couple of hand recounts and all. I mean,
right.
it's just not, but it lets you know there's just a worm and well, no, the worm is actually
Yeah,
yeah, RFK Jr.
yeah,
But there's something
yeah,
in this guy's head noodling around that he just
yeah,
cannot accept that his ass lost. He just lost,
yeah.
and
Like,
he
what do you think?
cannot and
He,
here's what's so bad about it. Dude, he's president now. I mean, how can he not how can he not be happy with that? He's been
right,
president twice. He's
right.
done
Yeah,
he's done it
it's
like,
just ridiculous.
president
I don't know.
and then skipped a guy. I mean, not many people have accomplished that, and, I mean, I'm not
Right.
happy about it, but you would think he'd be happy about it.
I mean, I would be if I was in it. Like, damn, I pulled this off twice. Like,
Yeah.
what the hell?
I mean,
Yeah. I
it's
mean,
just
it
that
could
he
be
can't take the reality that there are people who do not like him.
right. And I think a lot of it could be, this is gonna help drive a narrative that undermines the faith in our elections, right? So, like,
Oh, yeah.
Trump could
Absolutely.
come out and be like, now they can manipulate it and say, "Oh, look, see, we told you there was fraud, and now everybody's gonna
But
doubt it
who's he gonna point the
moving
finger
forward."
at? Because the people handling
Right,
the election are Republicans. And, I mean, back then especially, everybody
right.
that was touching those ballots ultimately it's his people. So, what's he gonna do? Go and
Yeah.
arrest Dan Rafflesberger?
Like, I mean, it's not like you can go back in time, right? He's not gonna go back to 2020 and be president all of a sudden. I
Yeah.
don't I don't get it, it's just
Thank God.
pointless. Yeah, no kidding, no kidding. But yeah, the whole thing is strange. Was it Tulsi Gabbard was there? Like, I mean,
Just
what is that about?
no authority whatsoever. I
Right,
mean,
right.
it's, you have these people that he has one thing about this guy, you gotta really I hate the idea of giving him credit, but he has a like a superpower to identify people that are just weak-minded.
Yeah,
There's a certain kind of person that will just follow, that will follow authority. And
yeah,
so when you think about somebody like, well, look, his cabinet's nothing but billionaires except the black guy, it's the HUD secretary, but otherwise,
yeah.
and he's probably doing okay. I don't know his background, but I'm just saying it's not money. Howard Lutnick's got
No,
plenty of money.
yeah.
So, but there's
It's the power and the
that
access.
he's able to identify in people who do not have the moral part of it is fungible. They just kinda and I guess
Right.
it's the same kind of people that, and the Hitler reference is just right there. So, Hitler was able to get guys around him that
Yeah,
just were like, "Okay, whatever you say, boss." And whatever that was, they didn't really think twice about it. I think
yeah.
about
One,
Kristi Noem, whenever she gets challenged on something that's obviously illegal, she'll say something like, I've been authorized to do this by the president.
yeah,
That doesn't mean you got immunity, idiot.
right.
Okay. But she thinks that's her get out of jail free card.
Yeah, yeah. And I think ultimately they all think they're going to get pardoned. One of those preemptive pardon things. But
Oh, you know
and it's
what though?
possible.
That's why we got Tish James. That's why we got
Yeah,
these state prosecutors because that if and when we get past all of this is gonna sound crazy to say, we can almost thank this guy for basically stress testing this democracy. You know, after the
yeah,
financial crisis, the regulators did stress tests on banks. They would like do like sort of on paper, they would simulate the next crash
mhm,
against however much capital these banks have. And they still do it, I think, but they call it a stress test,
sure.
right? And this guy has uncovered every weakness in this democracy, stuff we hadn't even thought about, you know? I mean, you
Yeah,
think about when they created the Department of Homeland Security, I was in New York during 9/11. The whole idea was it was directed at potential terror, outside threats. Nobody ever thought the president would basically break that shit down and turn it into his Republican Guard.
yeah. But the way the agency was built, and on the heels of the Patriot Act, that granted federal authorities so much power.
Oh,
You know,
it made sense at the time. Um, it
there's
seemed to
just
make
no what. There's no accountability. Accountability. Tools for Homeland Security. You have oversight in Congress, but it rarely happens. And when it does, nobody suffers the consequences. So, like for example, when Alejandro Mayorkas had to testify in Congress about white supremacy in Homeland Security, right? There was evidence of it. We had just busted, like somebody had just uncovered the Facebook group with all the border patrol agents that were being racist and
mm,
all this stuff. And then they uncovered other stuff, and Mayorkas downplayed the whole thing. And out of that, out of all those border patrol agents that got caught, there was hundreds of them. I think maybe two lost their job, um, and the rest, like, suffered suspensions and things like that, and they had to take some class or something, but they all kept their jobs. And that's one of those things, you just like there's no accountability, there's no oversight. There are no mechanisms there to enforce any of this stuff.
Hmm.
When you have an agency that basically conducts oversight on itself, and like right now, the inspections for detention centers dropped in 2025 by almost like 40%. There's nobody there to make sure that doesn't happen. It's all fully in Homeland Security's control.
So
ICE
is that a
answers.
result of like Doge cutting job, functions and stuff, or
Yeah,
why?
I mean, I don't know. Historically, we've had that issue with accountability. The drop in inspections, I think, was a lack of contract renewals, and that could have been a Doge thing. But we just gave Homeland Security like I don't know how many bazillions of dollars, and they're trying to get more. So
Um,
it's not like they were short on money.
I think ICE got $174 billion.
Mhm.
It's like I don't think we've ever had an agency, just one agent, come anywhere close. Um, it's it's nuts.
Yeah,
It's more money than they can spend. And what's even what budgets should be in some way tied to actual need. And so what you have is a situation with ICE where these guys are out there searching for more, I'm trying to say this the right way. They're chasing more crime than there actually is.
right.
You see what I mean? I
It's a
mean,
solution to a non-existent
yeah,
problem.
I'm not saying there are no undocumented immigrants that have done something wrong.
Right,
And, I'm not talking about parking tickets. I mean, real crime,
right,
felonies, this kind of thing. A lot of those guys are already in jail. So if they just wanted that, they could have just gone straight to the jails, and that which is what they're trying to do now in Minnesota. So I have heard this over and over. I heard it today. Um, some Republican said that, made the comment that during the Biden administration, 10 million immigrants came into the country
mhm.
just in the last 4 years. I don't think that's true.
It's not, yeah, it's
I
not.
mean,
There
I
was
wrote
there
on
was
I
10,000,000 encounters.
there's like in the entire country, right? Like maybe what, 10 or 11 million? That's kinda
I think it's up to, like, 13, 14, somewhere in
okay.
there.
But
Right.
not 10 million during Biden's watch. They
No.
just wanna tie it to Biden, and it's to me, that's what gives away the game, right?
Right.
When I hear, like, during the election, JD Vance was saying there were 30 million immigrants in the country,
Yeah,
undocumented
yeah,
immigrants, 30
yeah.
million. And the the problem is the people in the media that they're talking to, and I'm not talking about Fox News because we know what's going on
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
I'm talking about, you know, the folks that we think are like straight reporters, and they hear this stuff and they don't say anything. So
Right,
when you don't say anything, it's as good as saying it's true,
right,
right?
right. It's a
And
it's
and
yeah,
they
you're based
well, they're just so worried that they might not get the next interview or
right,
something, or I don't know, maybe they think they'll get fired. I just don't know. But when you hear somebody say something that's so outlandish, how do you just sit there and listen to it and not say anything? Which is
right.
probably why I am sitting where I am and not not not
Yeah.
in, legacy media, right? Because I would be like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
so
no, dude, hold it."
yeah, so, like, the 10,000,000 number comes from the number of encounters over 4 years, and
And
that
they
just
know
means
most
that
people don't know that, right? So they
right,
it in a way,
right.
it's
And
very frustrating.
an encounter means anytime an agent comes in contact with a migrant. People don't realize that Joe Biden basically kept remain in Mexico in policy in place, and they turned away 3.5 million people at
Mhm.
almost four or close to 4.5 million people at the border, and they deported close to 1 million. So I mean, let's just say for a conservative number, let's just call it 4.5 million people were either deported, repatriated, or told to wait in Mexico, and they're still there because they're definitely not getting in under Trump. Um, and,
Is it
and people
fair to
don't even know.
say that Biden is has de at this point in his presidency, he had deported as many or more people?
Yeah,
Like I heard
no,
that.
he did.
And I know Obama probably did.
No, yeah, they Obama and both had higher numbers at this point in their presidency, and it's because they stuck to the system. And as bad as the system is, it's more efficient than what you're seeing on the street. What you're seeing on the
Oh,
street is
yeah.
total chaos, you know.
Well, I
So
don't think the purpose of this is, um I don't think this is meant what we're seeing in these different cities, that's not something
no,
that is meant to be efficient. That's
no,
meant, in my opinion, to cause fear, discomfort,
yeah,
make people maybe that are there and they know they got a problem. Maybe they just self-deport like Mitt Romney said, you know?
yeah,
But I just don't I haven't seen this yet, but I just have to believe, aside from the obvious things we're talking about, I bet this guy has run all I think about when I look at, like, the job numbers,
yeah,
the number of people that have left the country that were here illegally were still part of the economy, and
yeah,
you have just taken hundreds, maybe hundreds of thousands. I mean, we don't even know some of the people that just said, "Oh, screw this, I'm out," and left.
yeah,
Even people who are still here that just aren't working, just saying, "It's too dangerous.
right.
I can't go to that construction job."
Yeah, like
It's
I was
gonna
telling you,
it's gonna affect the economy at some point. It's got to.
well, it's pretty doing it here. So, at the border in South Texas, a lot of builders have had to shut down developments because they don't have anybody to work and it's taking so long to get anything done. It's driving up costs. People are backing out of their home purchases,
Mm,
and things like that. We're starting to see that in Dallas. We're starting to see it in Houston. And for us, the southern border is kind of like a marker. It's our canary in the coal mine. If things start going south at the border, then it's inevitably going to come and hit us in the bigger cities. We see, a lot of outskirts of, like, West Texas are like that too. That's kind of like, you see things happening there and you're like, "Oh, we should get ready." But yeah, we're starting to feel that pain economically already in Texas. I know Florida has been since they passed that SB 1718, and no matter how much costs have gone up in Florida, DeSantis, like Trump, just keeps pushing and pushing and pushing and making the situation worse. And it's just we're starting to feel it here. It's inevitable. You're going to start seeing it everywhere. Everybody you take out of the workforce is another chip at your GDP. And there was a lot of predictions in 2024 about what it would do if Trump's mass deportations came to fruition. And we're starting to see it. It's gonna hurt. Like you mentioned, I think last week, 30% of the construction industry is undocumented immigrants. So, you have that situation everywhere, and that's not who they're going after. They're going after documented immigrants as well.
they're going after
So,
citizens. I mean, think about it
right.
this way. I don't know the number of undocumented, immigrants that have gotten killed. I mean, it's not nothing. I mean, I know that there are several, but the idea, and I think just this reaction, and I'm not trying to be fooled by it because what they're not. I keep hearing people on television, "Oh, is he pulling back?" No, they're they're reorganizing, and they're
Yeah,
probably trying to figure out, okay, who's gonna have to take the fall for this? Probably Christy Nome. I would love to see her
right.
gone.
And
Um,
Bovino.
but they're trying to figure out, A, do we have to fire somebody? Can we just kinda, you know because you look at Tulsi Gabbard, I had forgot she even worked. I mean, I
Yeah,
hadn't seen her in months. So there, Trump is really good at this. How long have we been saying, "Oh, I think he's almost presidential. Oh, look at him. He's not." I mean, he does this, dude. And so
yeah,
at this point, anybody that doesn't recognize the game, then, God bless you. But these guys are not backing off of the prime directive, which is chaos, upheaval, and mass deportation. Well, mass incarceration, because
yeah,
they are
yeah,
not just shipping all these people out of the country. And, that's another thing we've been talking about. Um, they're not building all these facilities just for the heck of it. And
right.
so so I have 3 cats, and when dad starts doing this, it's like little kids, they start doing crazy stuff. I got a cat that's up way up on something I've never seen him on before, you know, and I mean, he'll just have to hopefully not hurt himself for 20
That's
more
funny.
minutes, because I'm just gonna leave it. But, yeah, man, they just start doing weird stuff, climbing on top of stuff, and yeah. Anyway, so if I
Funny.
just jump up and run off, you'll know what it's about.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, no, so, I mean, yeah, it's a mass incarceration problem, it's we talked about this, I think the little mini economies that are built around things like this, like the mass deportation machine, uh,
Man,
there's
that's
a
not even a mini economy. These guys are getting billions,
yeah,
billions.
well, you consider, like, I don't know, DHS has over 200,000 people working for it and in every agency. And then, you know, I did that article, The Mass Deportation Economy, and I was going down the list of like all these different corporations that have contracts with ICE and DHS. And then you start thinking about all the people employed because of those contracts. And then when you look at the local and state level contracts, there are thousands of mom and pop companies that have contracts with DHS. I
Oh,
mean,
I know,
I was
and
a
not
mo
small.
I was a mom and pop company who had a DHS contract through FEMA for a long time. And,
Okay.
yeah, so, I know where that comes from, but, like, you look at it like, I was working with FEMA before it became DHS, before 9/11, before Homeland Security existed, and when they made the switch, it became a bureaucratic nightmare, but, the money was still good, so we stayed with it. Um, but yeah, you see all this stuff and everybody working at detention centers and sitting behind a desk or whatever, you know, you're gonna have a hard time trying to dismantle or abolish anything because you're gonna be getting pushback from those people who rely on those paychecks. They're unions,
Yep.
there's a once you build these things, they're almost impossible to get out from under. And that's the part that scares me because what
So
happens
so
when
there's this show that,
it's done?
I think it's on Paramount Plus, which, that's another road we can go we can go down. But, the mayor of Kingstown, every time I watch that show, with the first season, I was like, "Oh, man, this is really some dystopian shit." Now I'm looking at it going, "Oh, that's that's basically what we got," because it's about this town that's a prison town, and just all kinds of wrongdoing and, graft and gang stuff, and it's over the top, but more and more, not that much.
Yeah. I watched, some of Immigration Nation. It came out in 2020, I believe it's on Netflix, and, they ride around with ICE agents for part of that documentary,
Mm,
and, we're talking about quotas and stuff, right, today, and there was a clip that struck me where the guy's driving his ICE vehicle, he gets a call on the radio, and the guy on the radio is like, "Make sure you bring me in at least 2 today." No less. And the dude driving's like, "You realize I got these people with me, right?" He's like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, sorry." And I'm like and then, like, all of the things you're seeing on the street right now happen in that documentary, but it was at a time where there was no other administration who spent 200 million bucks to broadcast this to the world, right? The
Mhm.
Trump administration put $200 million aside, told agents to be camera ready, and this is the result. You tell them they're immune, you tell them to be extra about everything, and they're basically doing what they've been doing. They're just doing it on TV, and there's a lot more of them. Because you have thousands of agents from DEA, ATF, FBI, all working with ICE right now. Homeland Security Investigations, a Bureau of Prisons. Like, it's crazy. Um, so yeah, you have a lot of dudes out there. They're taking their cues from Border Patrol and ICE agents who are, violent, who get away with crimes all the time, who have a tendency of covering up things. And this little culture that they're bringing to all these other federal agencies isn't, again, it's not something that just goes away with a new president. When you send all these agents back to their agency, that brutality and those tactics don't just go away. They start using them at the DEA, at the FBI, at your local police departments. And that's how these things go, man. And no effort is ever made to correct it, just like no effort is made to try to deal with racists in these agencies. It's just nuts.
You
We live in a
know,
weird society.
I saw a clip where some people in Minnesota had cornered a guy, ICE agent, and he was
Mm.
he was off duty,
Oh,
and
okay. Yeah, I think
and
I
they
saw that.
caught him, and, like, right behind his ear, you could see the SS tattoo,
Yeah.
and, they were calling him on it, just really verbally accosting the guy, and he said some shit like, "Well, I've had that a long time." Like, that's exculpatory or something. It's like, so
Right.
you've been
Yeah.
a Nazi for
You've
a
been a Nazi
long
for
time, in other
yeah,
words.
yeah. That's what I was just thinking.
Thanks for letting us know.
Crazy
Um,
thing to admit.
yeah, it is. There was a story that came out last week, and incidentally, for folks who just arrived, a lot of what we both talk about, are things that if you have the Notes app, follow us, subscribe, but if you just don't need another email, please, you can follow us, which is one of the good things about, that app. But a lot of these things we post, just sort of on the fly, and it's not gonna be
Yeah.
in a big email. Sometimes I'll post something and it just gets so much traction, I feel like I need to really sort of, expand on it a little bit. Um, but there was I posted something about this a few days ago. A reporter for Slate that applied for a job at ICE,
Oh,
and she
yeah.
she had been I wanna say she'd done a couple of tours in Afghanistan, so she had that military, background on her resume. She said that her in-person interview lasted 5 or 6 minutes,
Yeah.
and so she leaves, and I guess, I don't know, a week later, maybe a little bit less, she gets a phone call, um, and they wanted to do a drug test. So she says, and she wrote an article, and I also there's a video. I think she was on Democracy Now being interviewed, which I posted
Mhm.
that. And so she gets this. They wanted to do a drug test. She says, "Sure, I'll do it." She says, "But I knew that I had consumed legal cannabis just a few days ago, so I was gonna fail." So maybe a week went by, and I guess they have it in, a lot of these like big companies, they have a portal, I guess, where you can go in and they give you, some way to log in and you can see where you are, if
Yeah.
she's looking to see if her drug tests, whatever.
Yeah.
She says when she logged on, she was already hired. Like they had her
Yeah.
down as an employee. Okay. And just all kind of really sketchy stuff, like some of the dates on some of the things that they had in her file were 3 days in the future, okay? Like, the
Oh,
result of her drug test was, like, next Monday.
yeah.
So,
And sh
they're hiring so many
she
people, they don't even know what they're doing.
right, and she said that if they woulda just looked at her social media, they
I
would have
know,
known that, like, she was not
like, she's
serious
on an
about
Antifa
getting.
website. She was
Right, right. I was
yeah,
just like, "Wow, way to vet people," like, didn't even check the public social media pages.
but you
Like,
can
I
kinda look at their own people and tell betting is not a high
yeah, I refuse. Okay, so DHS has this history, bad hiring policies, but I refuse to believe it's been that bad. I refuse to believe that you can easily get in just like she did
oh,
without
no. No,
any scrutiny at
they're
all.
taking all comers, dude, because
Yeah,
well, think about it, man. When you got a budget, if you don't spend as much money as on your budget, as your budget decreases the next year. I mean, that's just,
yeah,
uh, SOP for, corporate America or any place else, right? Especially in government.
yeah.
They'll
Like,
allocate
I
that
didn't
money somewhere else. So
like,
these
I
guys are
remember.
running around buying jet planes. They got, Kristi Noem, she's apparently, in fear of her life. So she's got to have, a whole contingent of security. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I heard just someone allude to the fact that she's in a very expensive, housing situation. I don't know if that's on a military base or what.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that is. I mean, it's on the taxpayer dime, obviously, but
Oh, yeah.
yeah, she moved, didn't she? Was it her that moved into that Coast Guard admiral's or former admiral's mansion that used to belong to a Coast Guard?
I don't
Like,
know.
I know it's a government-owned house, but it
It could
normally
be.
is used for admirals in the Coast Guard.
Huh. I
Something
have
like that.
no idea, man. And nothing with these guys surprises me.
Nothing. Yeah. I heard something about them buying, airplanes with no motors and, like, I didn't look into that, but it wouldn't surprise me. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, come on. It's just so
Okay.
ridiculous sometimes.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
yeah, Amy, that does sound like something Hegseth would do. You could probably sell
Yeah.
that dude, a bridge. So we got about 10 minutes. I think maybe we start closing out, but we can't close out without talking about something very important, the Melania documentary.
Oh my god. Do we have to?
Dude, I just heard her I was listening to the radio and Amazon, God, man, it's just the problem that we have in this country, one problem, is that all of these things that are utilities that we almost have to use, you cannot go through life without a cell phone now. You just really can't do it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's either Apple or Google, kinda, right? Or
Pretty much.
I don't know, you could go get something else, but you know what I'm saying? It's like when I live in a I guess what you even though it's I'm sorta on a beach, but it's a rural area. There's just a lot
Yeah.
of stuff you gotta use somebody like Amazon. It's very difficult to not use it. But boy, they threw so much money at Melania Trump. This is nothing but a bribe, dude.
Yeah.
I was just
Yeah. I thought
listening to
that
a
too.
guy, and he was just talking about this was some guy in the film industry, and he said this is probably going to go down as the most expensive documentary ever made. This is like
Wow.
we're talking about Ken Burns, all these guys that have been doing,
Yeah.
Vietnam documentary, all this stuff. They paid her. They have spent, I believe it was in excess of 20 to 25 million dollars on marketing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Marketing.
Yeah.
Um,
You ever see The Producers? Mel Brooks?
it's it was a long time ago, but I know. Yeah.
I mean, that's what this feels like to me. Like, they made a movie, they know they're gonna flop so they can launder some money. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
that was
not
basically,
only that, dude, they're literally paying people. They are paying venues to show the movie because nobody wants it.
right,
There
and
was
nobody's
like
showing up at the
talking about
theater.
like in the, like, I guess where they have early releases or whatever, like 2 or 3 people showing up.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah. Yeah, I think somewhere in Europe, England, maybe,
Mm.
I don't know, somebody bought 1 ticket, like, the whole for the first showing, only 1 person showed up, and I was like, "What do you expect?" Like, I in my mind, I can't help but think that these are the typical elitist billionaires that really don't see how bad they look to the rest of the world. They think they're hot shit, but the rest of us are like, "Bro, what the like, what do you
Yeah,
think you're doing?
he's
You
so fair.
stupid?"
He always was goofy dude, even back in
Yeah,
I mean, I'm old enough to have known Amazon when folks didn't even think it was gonna make it, when it was a bookstore. And he was a goofy dude who happened to have some rich parents that had, put him in
yeah,
business, had a good idea. I think he had worked at a hedge fund or something like that.
yeah, yeah, something like that, yeah.
Now, man, you see this dude and he's on, he's on steroids, and and his wife looks like, I mean, look, I'm not trying to criticize people's looks, but you better not light a match next to that woman or some plastics gonna start melting, dude.
Yeah,
I am not kidding you. It's like every aspect of her just doesn't look
Oh, dude.
real. It's like AI,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And,
I saw them I saw them walking out of some event or something, and he's all
oh, yeah,
waving, and I'm like, he
like,
wants to be a celebrity. He's got, like, leather
so
pants or
bad,
something, like,
so bad.
so bad, dude, like, he wants to be a celebrity so bad, but,
You know
like,
what,
he
man?
never
I
will
think
be.
part of the, and I will give her credit. I believe it was Joy Reid that I heard, uh, just go on a rant probably 6 months ago, and I think the reason why they're so mad all the time is they've basically gotten every fucking thing they wanted. They got the White
Yeah,
They got all the government. They got the Supreme Court. They got people running around shooting folks, and they're just not happy because they cannot make us fucking like them. They
yeah,
cannot. We're never gonna like their jokes. They don't have no good comedian.
right,
Their music. They got Chris Rock. I mean, or Kid Rock, right?
yeah,
Eh, what are they? They just don't have the culture. And I think
yeah,
that is really something that drives the anger
yeah.
because
I
we're like,
think that's
"Okay,
what
you're president, go for it."
right,
You
right,
know,
and, like, a lot of that's where that racism comes from, right? Like, we have our
when they want it
cultures, and, like,
so
they
bad.
really don't.
I
Yeah, they
used to
do.
I guess it was his 1st term in the spring, we're out on the beach, and these guys would, in their little boats would literally be doing like flotillas of and it's just Trump flags, going up and down the intercoastal waterway, and they're listening to
Yeah,
Lil Wayne.
yeah,
They're listening to, you know, Jay-Z and because they just don't have the culture. They don't have it.
yeah.
They want it.
Yeah, we went out to a lake out way out in deep East Texas one summer with family, and we were on a, pontoon boat, and, we spent the whole day out there, but man, that's all it was. MAGA flags everywhere. Dudes in,
I tell you
shorts,
what
American
though,
flag shorts, like, come on, man.
dude, I tell you what, this past summer, did not see it. There's one
Yeah,
diehard a mile down the road from me that's got, like, the American flag in the middle and the Trump flag on one side and the Confederate flag on the other, and it's like, "Okay, we know who you are, but
yeah,
you just not." I mean, I think my area is a pretty good indicator, and I've seen a lot of Trump flags come down,
yeah,
not seeing a whole bunch of I'm not saying that they've, changed teams, but they know their shit isn't popular. They know we don't like it, and every time I see a MAGA hat, rightly or wrongly, I've made a judgment. Okay,
yeah,
good to know.
yeah,
I know what kinda guy you are or girl.
yeah, yeah,
I've got this little plant business, and there've been a couple of times, you got a business to run, and we would be at events, And there was this one event that we did, a couple of summers ago, and, we got our little pop-up tent, and folks are going on the bus looking at plants, and here comes a MAGA family, I guess. It was like they were going somewhere. They were kinda, country dressed up. They had on their good jeans, and and every last one of them had on a MAGA hat, and it was girls.
Wow.
And my wife just looked at me and said, "Please, just it's gonna take them 5 minutes. They ain't got no money. They're just gonna look
Right.
around and let them go." But what are you gonna do? It's such a conundrum, right?
It is. It is. But I mean, I see somebody wearing MAGA gear. Like we were eating at a Mexican restaurant not long ago, and we're there with my wife's second cousin. He's 10-year-old black kid, and there's a black dude with us, and my wife's cousin, white lady, and all. We have a pretty mixed family sitting at
Yeah.
the table eating. And, Clint, the black guy, he's very religious, does the prayer before dinner and all that stuff. I'm really not, but I do it out of respect. And there's a lady sitting across the way, maybe 20 feet away with a Charlie Kirk shirt on. And I swear she could not stop staring at us. And I'm just like, I just felt like something was gonna pop off any minute now. And I'm like, was the prayer not enough for you? Was like what's not enough for you over there that you can't stop staring? And
Well,
I
they
said something
want
under.
that kind of a situation to disappear. They don't wanna see it.
Right,
They want it to not
right,
be part of reality, and
right.
unfortunately for them, it's more and more of reality. Um, you know,
My
our
favorite
kids
response to
don't
that,
have
like,
that hang up.
right, I said something under my breath, and Clint looked at me, he's like, "Man, they don't want none of this." He's like, I am him." That's what he keeps saying,
Yeah,
"I am him." He says
not
that shit
not
all
that
the
he's
time.
not the
He
one. No,
kills me.
I am the one.
Yeah, he kills me with that shit. He's like, "I am him." Every time something good happens, he says that. I'm like, "Dude, shut up." Like, what the fuck? But yeah, we
Yeah.
were like,
I mean, man, you have
the
to
lady.
laugh at it. There
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
several
If it
years ago,
wasn't for
my
that,
wife
I.
was she ran um it was like a wine bar, and she handled all the music and all this kinda stuff. And there was a guy, he was like a volleyball coach or something, old retired guy, and he would just occasionally show up with a, MAGA hat on and talking loud. People are having conversations. He just breaks in like, nothing's happening until he got there. And it was really a lot for me to resist kinda just telling this guy what time it was. But, I'm not gonna make myself a headline in his story. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And so
yeah,
I think the more I think about it, we've actually got the upper hand because history's
yeah,
on our side, number 1. And number 2, we got all the good jokes, good music,
right.
good
We know
clothes.
how, man, and you know what? No matter how bad it is, we're always smiling. We're always having fun.
Well,
We're always trying to
we
enjoy.
know
You
what
know
it's
what I
like to
mean?
go through some shit.
Yeah,
You
right, right,
We know, I
right.
mean, yeah,
They're
we
miserable.
can talk about that next time. I'm just looking, man, we've gone over as we
Oh
always
yeah,
do.
yeah,
So, we do this every Thursday at 6 o'clock, and, I don't know if it's an ode to Seinfeld's show about nothing, but the
yeah,
show with no name is what we came up with because, either 'cause we're smart or lazy. I don't know, we'll
yeah,
see. But, as always, man, it's always a blast doing this with you.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I just on
Had
the
a good
way out,
time.
I'll just something I shared with subscribers yesterday. I had a broken leg right I basically was laid up through the holidays. Did it right at the beginning of December, and I went and got my X-ray, and my leg is healed. I still got some other weird stuff going on, but for the most part, I'd say I'm
Nice.
75% back to my old self. But I only bring that up, um, sympathy, of course, but
Yeah,
but
yeah,
the reality is I really got behind on, like, publishing, some of the shows that we've done. So, just a warning, if you are a subscriber, over the next week or so, you're probably gonna be seeing, just stuff from early December, late November. And I always try to, add a little bit of, context to whatever. And just, when you kind of see something and go, wait a minute, didn't that happen a couple of months ago? That's why. Okay.
Yeah,
So, and it's a lot, it'll give you a lot of new content, even though it's a little dated.
yeah. I've been publishing them all, and they automatically go to YouTube and all that stuff. So, and then I republish them on Antagonist Mag after they upload to YouTube, and so yeah, I try to get them out there, get more eyes, so we can start becoming more familiar to people.
Yep. Well, man, I
All
guess,
right.
I would say next Thursday, but I'm probably gonna be talking to you here in the next
Yeah, I'm
sometime before
sure.
the evening's out. So you guys can find
Yeah.
us, of course, you can subscribe to our newsletters, and, we are also on Substack Notes, so you can follow us there. And
Yep.
until next time, we will, I guess, see you on the other side.
All right.
All right, take care,
Bye,
folks.
y'all.